Sometimes, in relationships, we give so much of ourselves that we forget our own worth. We chase, we overthink, and we cling, only to realize the other person values us less. But here's the paradox of life. The moment you start valuing yourself, the moment you detach from constant need, is when you become the most attractive. True connection comes from strength, not desperation. When you focus on your growth, peace, and happiness, you radiate a power that draws others in effortlessly. Remember, it's not about ignoring, it's about respecting yourself enough to not beg for love. When we live in a world that constantly tells us we are not enough unless someone else approves of us, it becomes easy to tie our sense of worth to the opinions of others. From the time we are young, we are conditioned to seek praise, likes, and acceptance as proof of our value. While appreciation and encouragement are beautiful, the problem begins when we make them our primary source of self-esteem. Depending on others to validate us places our happiness in their hands, leaving us vulnerable to their changing moods, judgments, and perceptions. One day they may praise you, the next they may criticize you, and if your self-worth swings with their words, you will never feel truly secure. Valuing yourself above validation means understanding that your worth is not up for debate. You are inherently valuable, regardless of whether people acknowledge it or not. It is the quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing who you are and what you stand for, even when no one is clapping for you. When you understand this, you stop trying to win over everyone's approval and start focusing on living authentically. This shift is powerful because it frees you from the exhausting cycle of pleasing others and allows you to channel that energy into becoming the best version of yourself. Often, people who rely heavily on validation struggle with fear of rejection or criticism. They will suppress their own opinions to avoid conflict, wear masks to fit into every social setting, and constantly second-guess themselves. But the truth is, the more you bend yourself to please others, the more invisible you become to yourself. You lose sight of your true desires, your true values, and your true identity. In contrast, when you value yourself above validation, you no longer dilute your essence to be accepted. You begin to show up fully, unapologetically, and authentically, which ironically attracts the right people into your life. Those who value you for who you really are. Self-value is built through self-awareness and self-respect. It starts with asking, who am I when no one is watching? What do I believe in when no one is agreeing with me? What do I stand for when it's not popular? The answers to these questions shape your internal compass. They help you navigate life from a place of integrity instead of fear. It is not arrogance to believe you are worthy. It is simply acknowledging that you have been created with unique qualities, gifts, and purpose. When you accept that, no amount of disapproval can shake you. Valuing yourself above validation also means setting healthy boundaries. It's understanding that not every invitation deserves a yes, and not every opinion deserves a response. People who constantly seek validation tend to overcommit because they want to be liked, but this often leads to burnout and resentment. By choosing to protect your time, energy, and peace, you are telling yourself that your needs matter too. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are filters that allow only the right kind of energy into your life. This mindset shift also changes the way you handle criticism. Instead of feeling crushed by it, you learn to evaluate it objectively. Is it constructive feedback that can help you grow? Or is it simply a reflection of someone else's perspective and biases? When your value is not dependent on approval, you can take criticism without letting it define you. You learn from what is useful and let go of what is not. The irony is that when you no longer chase validation, you start attracting genuine respect. People are drawn to those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, who are comfortable in their own skin, and who don't need constant reassurance to feel secure. This doesn't mean you stop appreciating encouragement. It means you no longer depend on it for your happiness. Compliments become a pleasant bonus, not the fuel that keeps you going. When you value yourself above validation, you step into a place of emotional freedom. You no longer live on the roller coaster of approval and disapproval. You find peace in being your own biggest supporter, cheerleader, and advocate. You realize that you were never meant to be defined by how much others like you, but by how much you choose to honor, respect, and love yourself first. That is where true confidence begins. In relationships, one of the most surprising truths is that the more you cling to someone, the more they tend to pull away, and the more you create space, the more they are drawn toward you. Detachment is not about ignoring someone or playing games. It is about cultivating an inner sense of completeness so that your happiness is not dependent on their constant attention. When you are secure within yourself, you naturally give off an energy of confidence and self-respect, and this is deeply attractive. People are instinctively drawn to those who seem whole on their own, because that kind of independence signals strength and emotional stability. When you are overly attached, your actions can easily become rooted in fear of losing the person, fear of not being enough, fear of being abandoned. This fear often shows up in the form of overcommunication, constant reassurance seeking, or trying to control the relationship. While these behaviors might come from love or care, they can create pressure and suffocate the natural flow between two people. Human nature often responds to pressure by seeking space, so instead of deepening the connection, excessive attachment can unintentionally push someone away. Detachment, on the other hand, allows room for the relationship to breathe. It communicates that you are in the connection by choice, not by need. It says, "I value you, but I do not need you to complete me." This makes your presence feel lighter, more enjoyable, and more refreshing rather than overwhelming. People enjoy being around those who make them feel free rather than trapped. In this space, attraction grows naturally because it is not forced. It is nurtured through mutual respect and genuine interest rather than desperation. Practicing detachment also gives you clarity. When you are too emotionally entangled, it becomes difficult to see the reality of the relationship. You might overlook red flags or compromise your boundaries just to maintain closeness. But when you are detached, you can observe the relationship objectively. You can assess whether the other person's actions align with their words, whether their presence adds value to your life, and whether the connection is healthy for both of you. This clarity is not only empowering, but also ensures that you do not waste emotional energy on relationships that are not truly right for you. It is important to remember that detachment is not coldness. It is not shutting down emotionally or building walls to keep others out. True detachment comes from a place of love and security, both for yourself and for the other person. You can still care deeply, be affectionate, and be invested in the relationship while maintaining a healthy sense of independence. This balance is what makes detachment so magnetic. People can feel that you are fully present with them while still holding your own ground. The psychology behind why detachment creates attraction is simply we tend to value what we cannot fully possess. When someone is always available, always accessible, and always eager to please, we begin to take them for granted. But when someone has a rich, fulfilling life outside of the relationship, their time and energy become more precious. You begin to look forward to their presence, to cherish the moments with them, because you know they are there out of genuine choice, not obligation. Another reason detachment fuels attraction is because it inspires curiosity. When you are secure enough to not constantly seek attention, the other person naturally wonders about your world, your thoughts, your passions. They want to be part of your life because it seems interesting and complete, even without them. This curiosity keeps the connection alive, as it maintains a sense of mystery and excitement that often fades in overly dependent relationships. Detachment also protects your emotional well-being. By not making someone else the center of your universe, You avoid the emotional crashes that come when their attention wavers. Your mood remains steady because it is rooted in your own self-worth rather than in their behavior. This steadiness is incredibly attractive. It shows that you can handle life with grace no matter what happens in the relationship. In the end, detachment is not about pushing someone away. It is about standing so firmly in your own value that you naturally draw people toward you. It is the art of giving love without losing yourself, of holding someone close while still allowing them and yourself the space to grow. This balance of closeness and independence creates a deep, lasting attraction that is far stronger than anything born out of need or fear. When you embody this, you become a magnet, not because you are trying to pull anyone in, but because your self-assured presence makes others want to be near you. Focusing on personal growth means making a conscious choice to invest in yourself, your mindset, your skills, your emotional intelligence, and your overall well-being, so that you become the best version of who you can be. It is about shifting your attention from trying to control others or waiting for external circumstances to change, to working on the one thing you have complete influence over yourself. When you prioritize your own development, you naturally become more confident, self-reliant, and fulfilled, which not only improves your own life, but also positively impacts your relationships and the opportunities you attract. Many people get stuck in the trap of seeking happiness in external sources, approval from others, material possessions, or specific outcomes in relationships and careers. But these things are temporary and often unpredictable. Personal growth, on the other hand, is something you carry within you wherever you go. When you commit to learning new skills, developing healthy habits, and expanding your knowledge, you create a strong internal foundation that cannot easily be shaken by outside circumstances. This inner stability allows you to handle challenges with resilience and navigate change with confidence. Focusing on growth also means being willing to face your weaknesses instead of avoiding them. It requires humility to admit that there are areas in which you can improve, but it is this honesty that fuels true transformation. Whether it's developing better communication skills, managing your emotions more effectively, or becoming more disciplined with your time, every improvement you make strengthens your ability to succeed in all areas of life. Growth is rarely comfortable. It often demands sacrifice, consistency, and patience, but the rewards are long, lasting, and deeply fulfilling. Another important aspect of personal growth is self-awareness. You cannot improve what you do not understand. Taking time to reflect on your thoughts, behaviors, and patterns helps you see where you may be holding yourself back. It allows you to recognize the triggers that cause you to react impulsively or make poor choices. By becoming aware of these patterns, you can consciously choose new responses that align with the person you want to be. Self-awareness also helps you set realistic goals that are aligned with your values, rather than chasing achievements that might look impressive but bring no real satisfaction. When you focus on your own development, you also begin to inspire others. People are naturally drawn to those who are passionate about becoming better every day. Your dedication becomes a silent example, showing those around you that it is possible to change, improve, and create a meaningful life without even trying. You motivate others to take ownership of their own journeys simply by living out yours with intention and discipline. Personal growth also has a direct impact on your relationships. When you are committed to becoming the best version of yourself, you show up in relationships with more emotional maturity, better communication, and healthier boundaries. You are less likely to rely on others for your sense of worth or happiness, which removes a huge burden from the people around you. Instead of approaching relationships from a place of need, you approach them from a place of fullness, offering genuine love, respect, and support. This shift creates deeper, healthier, and more balanced connections. Focusing on growth means taking responsibility for your life. Instead of blaming others or circumstances for your struggles, you look inward and ask, what can I do to improve this situation? How can I handle this better next time? This mindset puts you in control because it shifts your energy from complaining to creating solutions. It also strengthens your resilience because you know that no matter what happens, you have the ability to learn, adapt, and rise again. Growth is a lifelong process, not a final destination. There will always be new challenges to face and new lessons to learn, but when you commit to continuous self-improvement, life becomes more exciting and purposeful. You stop competing with others and instead compete with your past self, striving to be a little wiser, a little stronger, and a little more compassionate every single day. The beauty of personal growth is that it compounds over time. Small improvements made consistently lead to massive transformations in the long run. When you make personal growth your priority, you stop waiting for the world to change in your favor and start becoming the kind of person who can thrive in any situation. You develop the skills, the mindset, and the strength to create the life you truly want. In doing so, you not only elevate yourself, but also inspire those around you, proving that the greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself. Choosing respect over desperation in relationships and interactions changes the entire dynamic of how you are perceived and how you feel about yourself. Desperation comes from a place of fear. Fear of losing someone, fear of being alone, or fear of not being good enough. It often leads to behaviors like over-pursuing, over-pleasing, or sacrificing your values just to gain someone's attention or affection. While these actions might seem like they are keeping someone close, they often have the opposite effect. Desperation can push people away because it places an uncomfortable pressure on the connection, making it feel more like a need for survival rather than a mutual choice. Respect, on the other hand, is built on a foundation of self-worth. When you choose respect over desperation, you are essentially saying, I value myself enough not to beg for what should come freely. You maintain your dignity even in moments of uncertainty, and you set a clear tone that your presence is a privilege, not something to be taken for granted. This mindset communicates strength and confidence, qualities that naturally attract genuine connections and discourage manipulation or mistreatment. When you operate from desperation, you give away your power. You allow the other person's approval or rejection to determine how you feel about yourself. This creates an imbalance where they hold all the control and you find yourself walking on eggshells to keep them satisfied. But when you choose respect, you reclaim that power. You make it clear through your actions that while you may care deeply for someone, you will not compromise your self-respect for the sake of keeping them around. Respect also creates healthier boundaries. Desperation often causes people to say yes to things they don't truly agree with, simply to avoid conflict or rejection. This can lead to resentment and a loss of identity over time. Respect allows you to stand by your values without fear. It gives you the courage to walk away from situations or people who don't treat you with the dignity you deserve. Ironically, this often makes others value you more because people tend to appreciate what they cannot easily manipulate or control. When you choose respect over desperation, you also create a space for authentic love and connection to flourish. Desperation is rooted in taking. It seeks constant reassurance, attention, and validation. Respect, however, is rooted in giving without losing yourself. It allows you to love from a place of abundance rather than lack. You give because you want to, not because you are afraid of what will happen if you don't. This freedom is what makes relationships stronger, because both people feel valued and respected rather than drained and pressured. It's important to understand that choosing respect does not mean being cold, distant, or unemotional. It simply means you are secure enough in yourself to know that your value does not depend on whether someone stays or leaves. It's about knowing that you can care deeply without clinging desperately. This balance allows you to remain emotionally available while still protecting your self-worth. Respect also changes the way you handle rejection or disappointment. Desperation often leads to overreacting, begging for another chance, or losing self-control when things don't go as hoped. Respect gives you the ability to handle such moments with grace. You can accept that not everyone will choose you and that it's okay, because you will never lose yourself in the process. This calm confidence not only preserves your dignity, but also leaves a lasting impression on others. Choosing respect over desperation also impacts the kind of people you attract. When you radiate self-respect, you naturally repel those who would take advantage of you and draw in those who value you for who you are. You stop settling for crumbs and start holding out for relationships, romantic or otherwise, that are built on mutual admiration and care. You no longer have to chase love because it comes to you in its most genuine form. In life, you teach people how to treat you by the standards you set. If you are willing to lower your worth out of desperation, you will often find yourself in situations where you are undervalued. But when you lead with respect, you set the tone for how others engage with you. They either rise to meet your standards or remove themselves from your life, and either outcome is a win. Respect keeps your heart open, but your boundaries strong, ensuring that the love and relationships you experience are real, balanced, and healthy. When you live this way, you no longer need to cling to what's meant for you, because what's meant for you will never require you to lose your self-respect to keep it. Emotional independence is the ability to maintain your sense of self-worth, stability, and happiness without relying on someone else to provide them for you. It does not mean you reject love, connection, or support. It simply means that your emotional foundation is strong enough to stand on its own. When you are emotionally independent, you can fully enjoy relationships without being consumed by fear of loss or constant need for reassurance. You give yourself permission to feel joy from within, rather than making another person the sole source of your fulfillment. This strength allows you to love freely because you are not driven by need, but by choice. Many people enter relationships hoping the other person will complete them, but this mindset often leads to imbalance. If your happiness depends entirely on someone else's actions, moods, or attention, you give away your power. You end up chasing validation, avoiding necessary boundaries, or tolerating unhealthy behavior out of fear that the relationship might end. Emotional independence shifts this dynamic completely. Instead of leaning on someone to hold you up, you stand tall on your own, and the relationship becomes a bonus, not a lifeline. Being emotionally independent also means you are less affected by the ups and downs of others. While you may still feel hurt, disappointed, or frustrated in certain situations, these emotions do not break you. You process them, learn from them, and move forward without losing yourself. This stability is deeply attractive because it shows that you are grounded and capable of navigating challenges with grace. People are drawn to those who remain steady under pressure, as it creates a sense of safety and trust in the connection. This kind of independence requires self-awareness. You must know who you are, what you value, and what you need in order to feel fulfilled. Without this clarity, it is easy to fall into patterns of codependency, where your emotions rise and fall entirely based on another person's behavior. Self-awareness allows you to identify when you are slipping into unhealthy dependence and to take steps to return to a balanced state. Emotional independence also changes the way you approach love. Instead of clinging out of fear, you can give space when it's needed, understanding that distance does not diminish connection when it is genuine. You stop over-analyzing every message, reaction, or gesture because your peace does not hinge on constant affirmation. This creates a relaxed, confident energy that makes the relationship feel lighter and more enjoyable for both people. It also strengthens your boundaries. When you are emotionally dependent, You may overlook disrespect or settle for less than you deserve just to avoid losing someone. Emotional independence gives you the courage to walk away from situations that are not aligned with your values, because you know your worth is not defined by whether someone stays in your life. You become willing to lose a relationship rather than lose yourself. And that is one of the most powerful positions you can hold. Another benefit of emotional independence is that it frees you from the constant fear of rejection. You understand that if someone chooses to leave, it does not make you less worthy. It simply means they were not the right fit for your journey. This mindset allows you to approach relationships with openness instead of anxiety, knowing that love should be mutual and voluntary, not forced through fear or dependency. Cultivating emotional independence is not about isolation, it is about balance. You can still lean on others for support and share your life deeply with them, but you are not emotionally crippled without them. You know how to comfort yourself, motivate yourself, and find joy even when you are alone. This self-sufficiency not only protects your mental health, but also ensures that your relationships are built on mutual respect and choice rather than neediness. When you achieve emotional independence, you carry an undeniable presence. You walk into relationships whole, not searching for someone to fill the gaps, but offering the fullness of who you are. This is what makes you truly powerful, because no matter who comes or goes, you remain steady, fulfilled, and at peace within yourself. And when you operate from that place, the love you give and receive is stronger, healthier, and far more enduring. Self-worth is the inner recognition that you are valuable, deserving of love, and worthy of respect simply because you exist, not because of what you can give, how you look, or how perfectly you please others. When you truly understand your own worth, you stop chasing relationships that require you to shrink yourself or constantly prove your value. Instead, you naturally attract connections that are authentic and mutual. People are drawn to those who carry themselves with quiet confidence, because it signals that you are secure, grounded, and unwilling to settle for less than you deserve. When you lack self-worth, it's easy to fall into patterns of over-giving, over-apologizing, or accepting mistreatment in the hope of earning someone's approval. This often results in one-sided relationships where your needs are overlooked. But when you operate from a place of self-worth, the entire dynamic shifts. You no longer accept love that feels conditional or inconsistent. You begin to recognize the difference between attention and genuine care, between being wanted for convenience and being valued for who you are. This awareness protects you from unhealthy attachments and opens the door for deeper, more respectful connections. People with a strong sense of self-worth radiate a certain energy that others can feel. They don't demand love, yet they receive it freely. They don't cling to people out of fear, yet they maintain close bonds with those who respect them. This is because self-worth creates healthy boundaries. You are clear about what you will and will not tolerate, which filters out those who are only interested in taking without giving. At the same time, it draws in those who appreciate and match your energy because they know your presence in their life is intentional, not desperate. Self-worth also allows you to be authentic. When you are secure in who you are, you have no need to wear masks or pretend to be someone else to gain acceptance. You can show up as your true self, flaws and all, because you know that the right people will value you for your authenticity. This authenticity acts as a magnet. It creates trust and makes others feel safe to be real with you in return. In this space of honesty and acceptance, genuine connections thrive because they are built on truth rather than performance. Another powerful way self-worth draws genuine connection is by removing the need for constant validation. When you are already confident in your value, you are not dependent on external praise to feel secure. This makes your relationships lighter and less pressured because you are not constantly seeking reassurance. People are more likely to enjoy being around you when they don't feel responsible for your self-esteem. Instead, the bond is built on mutual enjoyment and respect rather than an unspoken demand for constant affirmation. Self-worth also influences the choices you make in relationships. It gives you the patience to wait for the right people instead of forcing a connection just to avoid being alone. It allows you to walk away from situations that are draining or disrespectful without feeling guilty or afraid. This decisiveness shows others that you know your value, and it makes your presence more meaningful because they understand you do not stay anywhere you are not appreciated. When you carry self-worth, you become a mirror for others. The way you treat yourself teaches people how to treat you. If you speak to yourself kindly, protect your peace, and honor your boundaries, others are more likely to do the same. This not only improves the quality of your relationships, but also inspires those around you to value themselves more. In the end, self-worth doesn't just draw genuine connection, it sustains it. Relationships rooted in mutual respect, authenticity, and emotional balance are far more fulfilling than those based on insecurity or dependency. When you value yourself, you naturally create a space where only those who truly appreciate you can remain. You no longer chase love. You simply live in a way that invites it to come and stay. And when it does, it's the kind of connection that is real, lasting, and nourishing to the soul.